Well, welcome everybody. I think we have made it live. I'm not real sure exactly how it's working. We're not just using a cell phone today out on the farm. We're trying some high-tech redneck stuff. But anyway, welcome to the live chat. When you get here, if you would, let us drop a line in the comments or chat, whatever it's called, and let us know where you're from. We'd love to see where you're watching from anyway. And any questions or comments you have, feel free to jump on.
Let us know.
One thing is the audio quality, okay? We've got the smoker going, pellet grill going with some smoked sausage. And I'm kind of excited about that. I hadn't had anything to eat today.
I ate lunch already, but yeah. I'll eat again.
I guess that'll be the true test of how good it is. Anyway, I think we're live. I wonder if we are live or if we're just fooling ourselves. Until somebody lets us know in the comments, we may not know unless somebody chats. Anyway, oh, yeah, we are. Hi, watching you helped me decide to homestead. Oh, good deal, Devils and Details. Glad to hear it. Where are you located? Just out of curiosity. Jonah, Gruß aus Deutschland. Leider ist my English ziemlich schlecht. They're coming from Germany. Maybe English is my second spoken language. I'm not real sure. It's been a while since I've had German, and mostly I've been reading it in last years and hadn't done a whole lot of that. But welcome, Jonah. Chloe says, hey, y'all. So, yeah. Oh, Devils and Details says, yes, you're live. Apparently we are a minute or two delayed. We didn't get a chance to figure out why that is. Again, high-tech rednecks here trying to figure stuff out. But, so, yeah. Bought land in southern Missouri, getting finances for the move. Oh, great. Good.
Good deal.
That's really great to know. So, yeah, we are here. We get a lot of comments, and a lot of the same comments on videos that, quite honestly, a lot of them are people that are watching and don't watch more than one or two videos, especially the shorts. You just can't get a whole lot of context with shorts there. But anyway, so we've got someone from Germany, unless that's like Dutch, but I think it's Germany. Missouri, and then Chloe. So I guess we have three current viewers.
Hey,
oh, look at the smoke coming out of that thing.
Oh, yeah.
Is there too much background noise? In all seriousness, we want to make sure y'all can hear us fairly well. I guess if we have to, we can turn that off. And I guess I'll go hungry until an hour after the live.
I've already ate, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, he's a jerk like that. Boat Thrust watching from Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Murfreesboro.
We've had some rain, and it's hot and sticky. And
mosquitoes are bad. Mosquitoes, sorry.
Do what?
I was trying to say mosquitoes, you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, so that's what's going on here. Boat Thrust says the sound's good. Okay, well, let us know if the smoker's too much noise in the background. Maybe they'll be ready in a little while and we can eat some. We've got a jalapeno and pepper jack and a 3 cheese that has pepper jack, cheddar, and I don't know what the other cheese is in it. I'd have to look at the package. I've forgotten.
I don't know.
But pepper jack, man,
pepper jack makes it really good.
It's the bomb.
Could be Gouda.
I'm I'm from Germany. I understand but don't speak English. Ah,
Oh,
I thought that was it. I mixed up speaking and hearing though. I was thinking Jonah could hear but not speak. But anyway, sorry, my vocabulary in German is bad. Most of the German I read was about irony, and yeah. Anyway, oh, Megan's watching. So 2 of the viewers are right here in this household.
right there.
But anyway, so y'all got questions or comments? Oh, when out on pasture, how do you tell if you need to supplement with feed? Well, it depends on. I'm still getting the hang of it, although I'm far advanced to where I was even last year. But most of the time, you can tell which forages are the most nutritious for the pigs. If there are a lot of clovers, peas, chicory, that kind of thing, it's a matter of kind of evaluating how much forage there is. The most grasses, they're not going to do a whole lot for pigs in terms of nutrition and gaining weight. So that's really where I try to watch, is just take a look at the forages. It just takes a little bit of experience. If you're not growing a lot of forages and it's mostly grass, they'll still forage a lot. But if it's mostly grass, they'll gain a lot of healthy stuff. It'll help reduce bad fats and increase good fats in the meat of the pigs significantly, but they may not put on a whole lot of weight. What I do, I tend to calculate based on body condition. And with our breeder pigs, it's a lot easier than with our feeders. With our breeder pigs, they need an average of about 5 pounds of grain a day, maybe 6, depending on where they are in their gestation cycle, breeding, and that kind of thing. And if it looks like they're losing body condition, getting a little bit skinnier, I feed them. With feeder pigs, I tend to lean a little more heavily on the grain. But let's say I feed an average of, we normally go by buckets, but an average of 5 pounds a day or 3 buckets. And when they're ready to move to their next paddock, if they still have a lot of those nutritious forages that are tender that they haven't eaten, I'll reduce to maybe 2 buckets or 2.5 buckets of feed rather than the 3 that I had been feeding. It's just a matter of looking at the pigs and telling. Bubba can tell you there are times the pigs look real scrawny,
Yeah.
and times I've got 2 feeder pigs that weaned, and it's a long drawn out story, but we've had so much rain the last really 3, 4, 5 weeks, and we just hadn't been able to, we've had fences that have had lower power anyway for a while. About 3, 4 days I had the pigs that were out, and they weren't off the farm, they just weren't in their paddocks, and they got jumbled up. And remember those 2 little feeder pigs, the bigger of the feeder pigs, but man, they were scrawny. And between me and then later Bubba, we got all the pigs up, at least caught, not sorted where they're supposed to be. But I did catch those 2 and put them in the training pen yesterday with those others.
Oh, good.
Brent was out there, and anyway, we grabbed them while I was feeding.
Caught up. Good.
But it's just a matter of watching body condition. You can see, younger pigs, a lot of times they look fat, but they're kind of like babies. I need to be careful here, but you know how babies, they'll get kind of chunky and then they'll have a growth spurt. That's how I kind of relate it to pigs. You don't want lard balls. Now, if you've got a lard type pig like a Mangalitsa or American Guinea hog, it's a little different story. But the others can they'll put on weight.
They'll put on the weight.
Yeah.
Right. But
it really helps if you have some free labor to feed your pigs.
he gets that.
Someday. Anyway,
So
man,
what-
that was a long thing.
One of our most popular questions is, what type of pigs do you raise on pasture?
Oh. Okay, so there's this real technical breed. You hear about it in dogs too. They're called Heinz 57. They are pure mutts. I say that in a little bit of jest. We've got a lot of purebred Berks. We've got a few purebred Durocs, and we can separate 2 different genetic lines of pure Berks and 1 genetic line of pure Durocs. But I'm less focused on breed and more focused on the pigs that forage really well, perform really well on pasture. If they don't do that, I just cull them. In terms of piglet, it's fine, but in terms of breeders, that's a different story in my mind.
If they don't forage, they don't work in our system.
Yeah.
I saw one earlier that asked, it was talking about that Yorkshire. When you're talking about her not breeding, they asked, is it something they can learn to forage, or is it with their genetics they're not going to learn? Basically, that's it. I can't find the question again to read it.
I got several similar comments. So in a recent short, and a long form video as well, I think the long form video is 6 ways I made some money on cover crops or something. But the short was titled, "If she doesn't graze, she doesn't stay." And it's about a sow that she just was not performing well. When I got her, she wasn't in the best of shape. She's actually on her way now to a farm to grow out and then for processing. Several people asked about her. But the problem that I find anyway, with feeder pigs, they don't have to be the best grazers to perform well. You still get a really, really excellent product. But when it comes to breeding, I don't want to push genetics where the parents aren't good foragers and they don't thrive on pasture. And for her, she was still getting supplemental grain. It wasn't
She wasn't starving.
She wasn't starving. She was gaining a little bit of body condition, but it was reliant on the grain and not on the foraging. She only foraged when she got desperately hungry, which is fine for a feeder pig that's going to be processed, but for something that's going to be one of the foundation genetics of a herd, that's certainly not what I would want. And that's why she goes. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, you did.
We got some comments in the I don't know. In the chat, let's check on some of those. Cindy from Amory. Hey, Cindy. I think Cindy knows my sister or something, but anyway, she's probably not 20 miles from here. From Devil in Details, Papa Rowe from Indiana. Okay. Dowdle TV. Hey, I think that's one of my kids on the TV.
Probably.
I had a problem with commenting on your chat. I restarted my phone several minutes in, and it looks like the issue was resolved. Good deal. Glad to hear it. I'm not the most technical person in the world, but I just find that if I tear it up, if it's not working, I unplug it, restart it, and if it's still not working, I throw it on the ground and walk away and try not to say anything too bad. Cindy, she's close by, says, yes, the rain is making it a mess in my pasture and especially the pig area. And it is doing that for sure. But it was frustrating tuning in from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Dutch country. Yeah, Gwen was in I remember talking with him some in a vertical short when we had 2 sows farrowing.
Oh yeah.
When you use your paddock, how do you run animals in what cycle? Do you wait to put the next animal in the paddock rotation, and do you put anything down for each animal? Wow, that's Oh, I see. So usually the cow herd is separated from the pig herd, from the pigs. My general approach is feed the pigs first, because the cover crop mixes that we're growing they cost a bit more per acre to grow. You know, they may be 50, 60, even $100 an acre, compared to, you know, those for cattle can be as little as 30 or 40, $50 per acre. But I do have currently 6 steers that we're finishing out, and I did move them into that, you know, that cereal rye clover paddock, you know, those, anyway,
the big one.
right there by the grain bin, and those I moved in there primarily because there was too much forage, and I needed to get some of that taken up, and quite frankly, they trampled a bunch of it, they ate a bunch of it, and I just interseeded it. I had a wild idea afterwards. I think it's going to work out well. But usually I keep the cows and the pigs separated, just because it's more hassle. But, you know, we do have those 6 feeder steers, and I'll add a few more to it in the next few weeks. But if it's more grassy stuff, cows do better. If it's more clovers, forbs, brassicas, that kind of thing, the pigs really thrive on that. Yeah, the chicory, the buckwheat, the clovers, peas, all that kind of fun stuff.
We're kind of answering this one now, but somebody asked, what's your seed mix? Which, I mean, that kind of covers that, I guess, really.
Whatever I can get. I guess I ought to do a separate video on this. You know, I did a video with, what do you call that thing? Not a live stream, a web recording or something. Anyway, with Keith Burns from Green Cover Seed. And generally, I try to include as many nutritious plants as I can. This time of the year, buckwheat is it can't be the sole crop, but it is, or it'd be risky if it did, because it can have some issues with sun scald. I haven't had problems with it. But I usually keep a sorghum Sudan grass. So on an acre, these rates that I'm giving are pounds per acre, but sorghum Sudan grass, you know, it can be anywhere from 6 to 12 pounds to the acre in the mix that I'm giving you. I usually do about 20 pounds of buckwheat, which is higher and more expensive, but it's also more nutritious. It grows, the pigs graze it. Whether it's in the plant form, vegetative state, reproductive state, pigs do really, really well with it. Then chicory is in there. It's best planted in the fall, but I plant it in the summer too. Some kind of brassica like dwarf Essex rape, a grazing brassica, something like that, collards, kale, anything along those lines. And then it's the cowpeas and, what do you call those things? They're grown in row crops.
Soybeans?
Yeah, forage soybeans. Sorry, I'm having a brain lapse here. And, you know, the brassicas and the, gosh, I can't remember everything. The brassicas, the chicory and all that is 1 to 2 pounds per acre is plenty. They're really small seeded stuff. The buckwheat at about 20 pounds to the acre, 8 to 10 pounds to the acre for the sorghum Sudan grass. Hybrid pearl millet works really well. If you're going to use it, I would cut the sorghum Sudan grass in half, but kind of keep those as equal. And then forage soybeans they're a little bit tougher, 15 to 20 pounds to the acre is usually what I do there. So that's the mix that I do, but sometimes I don't have the cowpeas, sometimes I don't have the chicory or whatever else, and I just throw out what I have and adjust the ratios accordingly. It's not the most effective method, but because, like, I've got, how many? You and I planted those 2 fields that we dished.
Yeah.
That's about an acre. That's about an acre and a half with those two.
We planted that third field too that you just threw on top.
Yes, and then the one where the cows were in, I broadcast it and did the one next to it. So that's probably another acre and a half there. So, and it's just been too wet to plant anything else. I'll try seeding some this week if it gets dry enough. But my point is, with the success of cover crops growing, it's just a lot more difficult, in my mind anyway, to get to keep all the seed that I have on hand. In fact, I've been interrupted planting, and I've got bags of seed in my Yukon that, anyway, that's a whole nother story. Just because I don't have a place to keep them out of the weather, and particularly from varmints. I can keep them out of the weather, but, and so I don't always have all those crops together. I get the seeds individually and then plant them all at once. Devil in Details, welcome to friends and supporters. I guess they became channel members. Thanks a lot. Podcast I watched and took notes. Podcast. Oh, that's probably the thing with
the
Keith Burns from Green Cover Seed, yeah. Rob, when are you coming out with your book? I don't know about that. I'm having a hard time keeping up with video stuff, much less adding a book to it. Got a lot more I need to learn before that happens. Man, the mosquitoes are bad. Cindy asked, what cover crop or seed mix absorbs the extra water the best? I feel like I should grow rice. Yeah.
We got a couple of them fields.
Most of the fields, I mean, they're just sopping wet. And it's a little bit later in the year than normal. For fall planted crops, red clover handles moisture a little bit better. Balanza clover, that fixation Balanza clover works well. Oats, rye, oats probably handle moisture better than the others, I think. But this time of the year, I don't know what to plant to handle the moisture. It's kind of difficult, I think, because I am including willow trees. In fact, is something on fire over there?
I think it's just smoke coming up from here.
Oh. Why is it hanging over? Anyway, sorry. I'm a little bit of a squirrel here. Just trying to plant willows in those wetter areas. They're great for shade, and they also help absorb some soil moisture this time of the year. But this time of the year, it's just, I don't know, there's not much to plant that I know of when the ground's this wet. I use the manuals and the suggestions from experienced breeder as a guideline and adjust the feeding based on what is eaten first. Yep, and what's left. The development, body condition, and behavior. Yes, Jonah, I'm right there with you. That's one of the best things. For my feeder pigs, if I'm not trying to graze them on pasture, I usually free choice feed them. It's just, if you're moving them once a week, which is kind of the standard every week to 10 days, that big drop feeder with a ton of feed in there for 20 or 30 pigs, move them when it's empty. They'll last a week to 10 days. And most pigs will adjust their own eating habits to keep from being too fat, unless you've got a lard breed pig. They don't do that very well. Gwen, don't laugh, Rob. Did I make fun of somebody? Oh, about the book, I guess. It's a matter of timing. We've got some other changes coming up to the farm very soon that are going to suck a lot of my time here in the next, probably for the next decade or more. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. It's just a matter of time. HTB, hey HTB, I've seen you on before. I don't exactly remember where you're located. Let me know if you don't mind. Do you find clovers can cause bloat in cattle or pigs? I've never had an issue with bloat. I know a few people who have. Bloat is only going to my knowledge, is only going to be an issue with ruminants, particularly cattle. I haven't heard of it much with sheep and goats, small ruminants. You've looked into raising sheep.
I've been looking into them. What I've found is that it does happen, but it's not as common as it is with cows. I don't know if it's just because of the sheer volume or what.
They're slightly different. Yeah, cows just have such larger rumens, and they can develop more. I don't know if it has something to do with that, but no, I have not. And the main thing is, I think that's probably the most important thing about forages is if you have a pure stand of anything, at some point the animals are going to get sick, or they're not going to perform as well, or their nutritional needs are not going to be met. And that's, it may just be poor performance. It may be like sun scald and buckwheat, or it may be clover. So there are a couple things about bloat, and take this for what it's worth. Follow your recommendations. Most of it depends on the kind of clover. White clovers tend to be the clovers that bloat the most. That'll be your short clovers like white Dutch clover, or even the tall ladino type clovers. I don't think there's much risk of bloat with red clover. That's the pink flowers, not crimson clover, that has the red flowers. But red clover, official red clover, has more of a pointy leaf and a pink flower when it blooms in normal soil conditions. Anyway, Balanza clover, which I grow a lot of along with the red clover, just because they're so doggone moisture tolerant, has low chance of bloating. But even the high bloating ones, if there's other forage, particularly grasses, they'll balance their own dietary needs, and the risk of bloat is less, especially if there's less than a 50% stand, which we don't have occasionally I'll have, like where that cereal rye was, 90% of what they actually ate was probably the clover. But it was a low bloating clover, like I say. And most of that time they had access to grass. They could have eaten the cereal rye, but there wasn't any nutrition there for it.
That's a lot of what the folks said that I saw. We're talking about the sheep. They said the sheep are not wanting to get bloated because they know that's bad.
Yeah.
So they know to eat the other things as long as you have a mix. It's kind of what they were saying. Just have a mix with it.
Yeah. HTB from the UK. Boat Trust says bloat is a big problem for sheep. I keep free choice baking soda for them. Well, that's good to know. Who knows? Like I say, I'm not much of a sheep person.
I've just started looking into it within the last few months, and so.
Most of the stuff that I've read is focused on cattle and bloat. But again, like in Mississippi and in the South, there aren't many sheep to begin with. So that's where most of our extension resources that are offered, they'll address some small ruminants, but not really. I think bloat tends to affect cattle most, and then I would assume sheep. Goats are more brush grazers, I think. But anyway, who knows? Take that for what it's worth, Bloat is a big problem for sheep. I keep free choice baking soda for them. Oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
I guess that helps. I'm not sure. I wonder how that works. Anyway, good deal. Planning on using pigs. What is the best breed for forest pasturing? On that, Devil, on a personal note, I really like the Berks. They put on weight well. People say that Berkshires. Anyway, I'm yelled at about how I pronounce that. But they say that they're not the most efficient feed conversion animals. Whether they are or not, I don't know. I do know they have really good meat quality, really good carcass size, good temperament, and most of them that I've had have foraged really well. Now, again, that's not necessarily always a breed thing. That's where they're raised. But every one I've seen that I've had on my farm, all the Berkshires have done relatively well, some better than others. Durocs are good pigs. What's another one? What was I saying? Oh, breeds. Probably, if you're not breeding them and they're going to be in forests, or even if you are breeding them, you just may have a challenge. One of my favorite pigs is a Chester White. They're good, short, stocky pigs. They're white or pink like the Yorkshires, but they have kind of floppy ears. You know, that's the one that was in there with those, Ellie's babies and then the Durocs.
Right, yeah.
And they're just, but they have so much personality. Every Chester White I've had, and I probably had 25 or 30 of them, have probably 35 or 40 of them have been just really, really personable animals, a lot more fun-loving than the others. But I typically avoid Chester Whites, just white skin out in the pasture for that reason. But if they're going to be in the woods, that's a really good pig, and they forage well too, from what I've seen. Durocs are good. Old spots are often good. If it were me, Devils, I'd just try a couple breeds and see what you like the most. That's probably, as feeder pigs, and just go from there. That's my thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, we've been trying a bunch of different ones, getting a lot of different ones here lately.
I'd avoid Mangalitzes that are free anyway.
Yeah.
I say that the Mangalitzes that we've had, I had one genetic line that was good. Annie was good.
Extremely good.
But the problem that I ran into with them was, I think the ones that I got for free, in hindsight, I think they were bred by some wild boars, and I think that's where a lot of those problems came in. But that guy didn't feed them at all. They were wormy and scrawny, but they performed well. They bred,
kind of one of those things, nothing's free.
6 or 8, 10 litters, yeah. The free ones are the most expensive. And the meat quality was good.
Yes.
Even as a 50 to 100 pound, like 100 pound live weights, a 50 to 60 pound pig, even a 100 pound pig, we'd process them and cook them and take them to church dinners and stuff, and they were
extremely good.
Really good.
Matter of fact, the last ones we had, we ground them, and they made some of the best burgers and stuff that I've ever had. So,
anyway, HTB says, yes, I've read that about white clover and red clover. Good deal. Watching from Lehi, Lehi, Lee, Utah. The wife is from Alabama, and her family has land that I would like to use like you do. Do you allow visitors to see how you run or operate your farm? Sure. We got folks that stop by sometimes. It's like right now, things are so chaotic. It is a muddy, muddy mess. And really getting out there, it was muddy. What day were you out there? Friday? And we
Friday we were out there.
had not had any rain for 2 days.
Yeah, I think it's 2 days in.
And it was a muddy mess. And we've had a whole lot more rain since then, probably 3 inches since then. And it's just, sometimes of the year things are busy and may not be able to take as much time or whatever. But yeah, would love to have you at the farms. Lanessa Farms is a good resource. Good deal. I watch 2 sheep channels, and neither of them have addressed bloat in sheep. It's interesting. Yes, my Lulu was a Yorkshire. Ah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cindy, how did Lulu work for you? I'm just kind of curious. Anyway. HTB regarding bloat and baking soda. Baking soda or sodium bicarbonate can help with bloat in sheep by neutralizing rumen acids and potentially reducing the amount of foam. It can also be given as a drench too. Really?
Good to know.
I wonder how that works. Anyway, we're getting kind of sidetracked on sheep, something I don't know anything about. It can also be given as a drench to help release gas trapped in the rumen. In my experience, Jonah, I think Jonah's from Deutschland. In my experience, sheep do best on magaracin, plants that grow on poor quality soil. Too much protein in the forage leads to diarrhea and related health problems. I bet, yes, I can see that for sure. Again, we're getting into an area that I'm ignorant in. Droopy Bear, been watching your videos for a while and agree that chickens don't regenerate soil like pigs do. Woo! Man, that video set a couple nerves. People, some folks just got irritated with me about that one. That pigs don't regenerate soil like pigs do. And they don't. I mean, they'll offer a quick flush of growth, but they don't. They're, yes, they add a little organic matter, and yes, it's rich in nitrogen. Plants grow fast, but man, and you'll get a flush of growth that's faster than with pigs usually. But pigs just, partially there's so much volume, and you could raise 10 pigs and produce, gosh, that'd be, what's 10 times 1,000?
10,000?
Is that right? Oh yeah. Anyway, you got 5 tons of manure. Well, you put those 10 pigs on an acre, and that's great. But you do that with chickens, and it's not that hard to sell 10 pigs. You can eat 2 or 3 of them a year if you had to. Most families can. If they made that their dominant protein source. But chickens, man, you put 100 chickens out on pasture for 6 days, and yeah, you can eat 100 chickens in a year. I don't like chicken that much.
I don't either.
It's kind of
I like pork that much.
Not real good bacon on a chicken, but anyway, and you just don't. The marketing is so much more difficult, and anyway, I've been there, done that. I'm not.
Of course, if we ate more chicken and less pork, it might be easier to move around catching pigs and stuff.
No, it wouldn't. What we need to cut out is the simple sugars, not the proteins and the fats.
Well, I got plenty of fat on me, that's for sure.
Yeah, but see, that's a funny little misnomer because we eat fats with bile and all that kind of stuff. That's where we get our energy source. I don't know. Some carnivores can speak to that a lot more than I can. Anyway, I want to come see how you do things too. Well, come on, Cindy, anytime. Do you run chicken after pigs in your rotation? I do not do anything with chickens anymore. I just soon take a whooping as deal with a chicken. They are predator magnets in my mind. Not that they're not really good options, especially locally, but I don't have the energy to do that. Chickens don't till the soil and integrate organic matter like pigs do, true. But pigs, I'm telling you, they produce copious. They eat a lot and they crap a lot, and it is hard to deny how much crap they can produce in a short amount of time. And you can just about put unlimited pig manure fresh from the back of the animal, on paddocks. I haven't found too heavy a load.
Well, that video you did a week or two ago about the soil change, the pictures on it really don't do it justice. You gotta understand,
they don't.
It was a red, I mean, almost like a brick color red.
If I would show that red right there in the yard where the dog's been digging. Stupid
It was
dog.
a red, and now it's just a dark brown, black almost. It changed it so much, and not really a long time. I mean, what,
2
couple
years? Yeah.
So, in just that short of time, it's changed it drastically.
Yeah, and it's and not really at a high stocking density either. Yes, it's cover crops. Yes, it's pigs, but you know, I haven't had more than 50 pigs on that 10 acres. Even if I did 50 pigs on 5 acres, that's not. I mean, that's not a whole lot of pigs. You know, when you put it into perspective. Do you find that pasture pigs poop wherever they want or in specific places like pen pigs? Well, it depends on the size of the pasture. So, I mean, we've had, in our house, at our house, we've got a little chicken coop over here, and if we had some problem pigs or something, we'd keep them in there. How big is that, Bubba? 10 by 15
maybe,
something like that. And so in a 10 by 15 pen, you know, you get 10 piglets in there. Don't tell your wife, but if you get 10 piglets in there, they'll all crap in the same part of the pen. But like in the training pen, and that's 150, maybe 200 or 300 square feet. No more than that, probably 200 square feet max. But I bet that's 8 feet.
It probably is. It's a small
wide.
Little area.
But anyway, 8 by 12 probably. So it may not even be 100 square feet. But like in the pig pen, the training pen, it's 4,000 square feet. And even when we had a lot of pigs in there. Mm-hmm. Big pigs, 10, 15.
10 or 12.
Yeah, I mean, we've had up to 12 or 15 a couple times, but usually 8 or 10 there this fall. And they mess all over the place. I think it's as much about stocking density, how many pigs you have, and a certain amount of square footage. But on our pastures, they just, they'll broadcast it everywhere, especially the areas where they have shade. They don't crap in the shade, because that's where they rest during the day. But when they go out and graze, they'll scatter it out in the pasture, and it works well. And when we're strip grazing the long skinny paddocks, they usually crap in the areas, the fresh areas, not in the areas where they've been. Mm-hmm. I did not expect that when we got started, but that's kind of where things have gone. HTB's laughing about something, but gosh, I've been running off at the mouth so much since then.
Ain't no telling.
It looks like we got 17 people on here. Let's see what else we've got here. Lulu was my first pig. I planned to breed her. She was so smart and sassy. She loved grasses and clover, and the pig area was moved once, but I obviously needed it again. She kept busting out of the gate. Yeah. I had more typed, and it made me take it off. I have a feeder pig still out there. Good deal. I'm kind of curious what happened to Lulu.
I don't know.
Anyway, just tuned in. Where do you get your seed from? Here in South Mississippi, have you produces a planting schedule for your grazing crops? Okay, Tim Helgerson, welcome. Depending on whether you're in the eastern part of the state or the western part of the southern part of Mississippi, Petcher Seeds has some stuff. He's known primarily for sun hemp, which Mississippi considers a noxious weed, even though 49 other states. Anyway, I'll get off that soapbox. But they've got some Chinese red and red ripper cowpeas that are much better than the iron and clay cowpeas you can get at your local feed store. The And they don't have as much diversity, but they do have some seeds there. You know, building a relationship with your local farm supply store that can kind of order seeds from you, for you, is probably the best. I honestly, Green Cover has a lot of really good seeds, and if you're just planting a couple acres, it would not take much. You know, to ship 50 pounds, you know, you can throw in some, at least the stuff that's not easy to get locally, like the chicory, small seeded. You know, you're not going to do 5 pounds unless you're just wasting it like I do sometimes, but you're not going to do more than 5 pounds for a couple acres anyway. You know, you can get those shipped on a smaller scale fairly simply. Once you get, you know, and if you have to buy your millets or whatever locally, you can. You just won't have as much diversity. My problem, honestly, with purchasing from Green Cover is I just don't have a place to store the seed. And actually, I'd placed the order. I decided to wait, and I'm glad I did, because we've had so much rain. I just don't have a place to store seed to keep the varmints out of it. I missed. Oh shoot! I can't. There it goes. I have a Peter pig still out there. Just tuned in. Where do you get your seed? At Winlook. Oh, how frustrating! Yes, it is. Greetings from Florida, GP. Glad you're here. My goodness, it's 2:45. We hadn't even started answering YouTube questions.
Oh,
we got a couple comments done. Anyway, greetings from Florida. Glad you're here, GP. Glad you popped in. I learn more from y'all than in a classroom. Helps me also to see that our farm isn't the only one that has mishaps and expensive lessons. Man, any farm that suggests. So I want to be careful here, but there are a lot of channels that everything's always well manicured on their farm, and it's never too muddy, and animals never get loose. And is that stuff ready? Oh, I bet that's ready.
Turn that stuff.
And to be honest with you, the norm is for stuff to go wrong. It's not a reflection necessarily of one's skill as a farmer when stuff goes wrong, though sometimes that's the case. I can't tell you how many times I've forgotten. I mean, the mishap that I had when we put the new pigs to pasture, about 3 days later, I just trained them to the electric fence, those larger breeders with Berkey in them. And then I pulled this boneheaded move and left the fence undone, and I had pigs everywhere. Well, for our longer pigs that have been there, the breeder pigs, they didn't notice. They're not going to touch the fence, but the new pigs tested it. So then when I plugged it back in, the fence was down, so it only had 1,000 volts, and it just led to 3 or 4 days of just pure chaos. I hope to do a video on that if I can. It's just, man, it's just wild. But then there's, you know, and I think the problem is that most people want things to be looking perfectly, and they're never going to. There are always going to be problems, and the best thing you can do is just give it a try and learn and grow. And if somebody isn't learning and growing, they're just doing the same stupid stuff that they've always done. Even if it's good stupid stuff, they could probably improve and be even better than they are. So that's my thought.
Always room for improvement.
There's always room for improvement, especially on our farm. Yeah. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. Yeah, where's Lulu? There's some attempts to combine chickens and pigs. The Best did some tests and publications. Advantage, chickens help keep the pigs bug-free. Disadvantage, most eggs are eaten by the pigs. Yeah, I bet so. It's kind of funny. One of the things that people often tell me is that pigs, you know, will eat their chickens and all, and well-fed pigs generally do not eat live animals. I mean, they may, I'm not saying that they won't eat worms or an occasional mouse or whatever, but half the time Now, they'll see a mouse in the paddock and they don't pay attention to it. I wish I could find the stuff right now, but I'm sure I can't. But last year, we had a hen. I was going under some fences about this time of the year, and I had a hen, turkey hen, run out in front of me. I'm like, that was weird, and I turned off the lawnmower, and I heard the poults, kind of chirping.
Yeah.
Is that the right word?
Squawking,
anyway,
something.
Looking for the mama, and the mama was calling them, and those two pigs, the two that we took the last of the mangas, than Annie, of the older line mangas, they were in the same pen with her, and they were the half wild crazy pigs that we had. And I got a video of her standing on a log. They're right in front of her, and they're looking for me for food. They're not interested in trying to catch the live turkey.
No, it's too much work.
Of course, I don't particularly care for turkey either. It's like chicken. It's kind of tough.
Yeah.
Not all that great to me. But anyway, so they can work together, and the pigs do well. I think if you're going to run chickens with pigs, on a homestead level, it's great. But when you get into a profitable enterprise, to justify the extra time marketing and the labor picking up the eggs or moving meat chickens and processing and all those, in my context, it's just not worth it until the scale reaches 1,000 pigs, not 1,000 pigs, 1,000 chickens or so.
Well, I mean, in reality, you've got to sell the chickens for a pretty high cost now to really make it.
Yeah, they're 4 times what grocery store is.
So
5-6 times probably.
Yeah. And
for us, our pork is close to twice as much. It depends on the cut of meat. Some parts of it are more, but it's a much, it's easier for people to swallow that kind of cost. Whereas for
that much meat,
for chickens, a 5-fold increase in cost is a whole nother story. Just wanted to say I love your content. Oh, thank you. Oh, Brock Ramsey. Where are you from, Brock? Ridgeman M. Hey guys, we have an expanding thistle problem in our pastures. Any experience putting pigs on this issue or other suggestions? Do you know what he's talking about?
I know what thistles are.
Yeah. So I don't. Pigs, you can turn pigs in there. And my observation, if you're growing cover crops, they're generally going to crowd out the thistles. Where we're growing cover crops on the pull ground, there's a high seed bank of thistles, but the cover crops just really outcompete them. But mostly where you get thistles, and my observation, like we've got some in the red field where our cattle are. My dad used to go through there and pull them out by hand, and it takes a lot of time, but you got to pull them out by hand, and you got to get them up before they go to seed. Once they start that purple flower, you can knock them down, but they'll still disperse their seeds. So you got to get them up, put them in a plastic bag, and incinerate them. Light them on fire. You got to
dispose of them good.
You got to dispose of them real well. And you do that on 50 acres or 150 acres, it's going to take you weeks of doing that when you have a really big thistle problem. Pigs may eat them. I just don't have a whole lot of experience because of the cover crops. I think we don't have a whole lot of thistles there. In my observation and what I read, and I'm stretching a little bit here, but thistles typically are growing where you have more compacted soils. They've got a deep tap root, a little bit of branching, and you've got a couple options there. One, just let the thistles grow and repopulate, and I think in a few years your soil conditions will improve to the point that you'll always have them probably, but it won't be quite as big. That is one suggestion. I'm not saying that that's the best answer. That's what some people would recommend, just letting nature take its course. I don't know. You can grow cover crops to outcompete them. In the fall, I would plant cereal rye. Put some, what do you call that stuff? Purple flowers, not clovers. It's a hairy vetch. And man, the combination of cereal rye and hairy vetch will outcompete just about anything, and help improve the soil, help with some compaction issues as well. You're gonna have to graze it with cattle. Pigs don't do much with hairy vetch though. Chicory, I think, performs a lot of the same functions, from what I understand, as those thistles do. It's got a deep taproot, helps break up compaction deep into the ground. Plant it in the fall. Let the roots grow over winter and graze it in the spring and summer with cattle or whatever. Thistles are just going to be a bit of a problem until the soil conditions improve, are my thoughts. But again, I'm not the best soil scientist, and I've got just enough experience with them to say that the best way of getting rid of them without chemical inputs or dispersing the seed is to dig them up and burn them. And then those other options are just sneaking suspicions that I have. Jonah, thanks. They have a higher live seed and better prices than local feed and seed stores in Middle Tennessee. I'm not real sure what that's to.
Probably the seed company.
I guess so.
If I had to guess.
Anyway, if there's something we need to address, just let us know. Anyway. Cindy, Rob, after 4 times in one day trying to walk a 300-pound pig back, Lulu is now pork products. Yes, I cried and prayed about it, but I have eaten the smoked pulled pork. I'm laughing, not because of some vengeful reason, though some people may, but I'm laughing because I'm feeling your pain. I mean,
I understand that one.
I mean, I had 200 pigs that would get out constantly. Those that line of mangas, and it's just, there's no, that's the thing to do, and I don't blame you. I do the same thing myself. Well, I cried and felt Lulu for being harvested was my fault. I'm learning. If she weren't a good mother or didn't produce, she probably would have produced good meat pigs, but if she weren't a good mother or didn't produce the genetics that you wanted, she's, that's kind of her lot in life. That sounds harsh and cruel perhaps, but that's really the way it goes.
Well,
I mean, yeah. We had a baby calf that we raised. He was here at the house for a while until he got too big and started pooping everywhere. That we bottle fed, and we wound up eating him. In hindsight, the only thing I wish I'd kept him because he was very gentle and would lead crazy cows around and help tame other animals. But I didn't see that benefit there. But my point is, when grow attached to animals, but ultimately, if they're not serving the purpose or if they're creating a problem for us or neighbors around us, they've got to go. And you get a car running, these crazy people around the farm sometimes we'll see somebody driving 70, 80 miles an hour and they hit a 300-pound pig. That's a liability that's, yes, we've got insurance. I don't want anybody to get hurt just because we couldn't deal with a pig. And it is a tragedy, but that's and it's unfortunate. I do.
Well, it's just like the mangoes. We spent so much time with them getting out and having to put them back up that it just gets to the point where it's, even if you are attached to them, it's not really worth it.
Yeah. Devil's asked, do you use 12 or 14 gauge wire for fence? I use I think it's 12.5 gauge high tensile fence. High tensile wire is what I use for the permanent fencing, and it's good. A couple areas in our training pens we use a flexible, I think it's a 17 gauge wire.
Yeah, it's a 16, 17. It's pretty thin.
And I think that's time to pull off. I'm hungry.
It's still cool.
It is?
Yeah, it was when I turned it a little while ago.
Oh.
I turned it up a little bit.
Well, I'm hungry. Sometimes I'll use the smaller wire if I don't need a whole lot of tension, like in a pig pen or something, but 12 gauge is the way to go, I think. Pigs, yeah, they're often looking to make a trouble. Yeah, you did the right thing, Cindy. My sister-in-law had her pony arrested in Massachusetts for causing an accident after it got out. Huh. That's interesting. Thanks for your elaborate answer. Tremendous help. We'll put your suggestions into the action this fall. Cheers from the Netherlands. We do get a good number of viewers.
Germany, UK, the Netherlands.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Joshua Madden, hey y'all, hope everything's good. I hope it's going to be good here in a minute when we start eating that smoked sausage. I hadn't had anything to eat today. Where are you from, Joshua? I'm just kind of curious. I appreciate y'all. We run chickens and horses, sell eggs, produce, and hay here in Wisconsin. Good deal. Hay is I'd hate to think that I had to cut a lot of hay. Mm-hmm. Tim Helgerson says, is your perimeter field fence or do you just depend on the hot wire? On 21 acres, we got field fence that is quite poor.
Yeah.
Is what I would say on the corner down there.
Okay, yeah.
They can go under it whenever they want to. And then if they didn't, they can go under the thing at the creek. The rest of the farm is strictly hot wire.
Strictly wire. And
it works well. If I have pigs that don't stay in electric fencing, they go. Now,
they don't stay.
There are times that I do boneheaded moves like the last few weeks, but even if it's my fault, I'm not going to let somebody else get hurt because I've got a pig in the road constantly. Going for docile pigs, that's the way to do it there with the hot wire. Now, the only catch is if you're breeding a lot of them, the piglets do not, until they get 4 or 5 weeks old, the ones we caught the other day.
The ones we got the other day.
They generally are going to go under electric fences. And they'll learn if you have it placed height, but if you have an electric fence, like if the ground level's here, and you've got, a wire for, typical breeder pigs are going to be 12 inches off the ground?
Yeah, 12, 14 inches, somewhere in there.
The next wire may be 24 inches off the ground. They're just going to go under it until they learn to hit it. And then they'll train themselves to electric fence. Where those were, they had stopped getting out. But that bottom wire was 6 or 8 inches off the ground. But if you've got, my point is if you got breeder, if you're farrowing, and you're right on a road, hot wire, you need to keep the breeder pigs off the road unless you use a field fence or something, just because of the chaos. of piglets running underneath.
The pigs here they're very smart, actually. We had one of the ones we had out the other day, I let her down the road with a bucket of feed and got to the field we wanted her in, opened up the gate, and once she saw me open the gate, she came right in there.
Yeah.
And it's just a spring gate that's hot wired. I found out it was hot, so.
But you couldn't get the Birkin there.
No, I didn't get the Birkin there. She came over there, looked at one side, went around the other side, looked at it.
Where he's talking about, there's a gate right here at a corner, and I don't know if she was going down the road or down the other side.
Going down the other side, then she came over to the road.
You know, and
where I had the gate, she just kind of looked at it like, I ain't going through there.
Sometimes if they don't see the gate, if they don't see you open the gate, they won't cross it, and it's weird. Well, I've just noticed this. I've never paid attention to it, but remember that little Duroc that Farrowed and we got rid of? Yeah, the red one that had the babies that we built the pen for, and then
she didn't do good. Yeah.
Didn't wean any of her babies. If she didn't see me open the gate, she wouldn't go in, and she could look and see that the gate wasn't open, but it took
she said, nope.
It took her being right there, and I'm guessing that may have been the reason is you were trying to get that one pig.
I got that one in already,
and
that
Berkshire didn't really know, wasn't paying attention, and didn't see the pig cross and not get shocked or something. So. Anyway, I hear that one, brother. I'm out in Colorado, got a tornado watch in my area. Oh goodness. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, be careful.
Yes, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, anybody else on here? I wonder if we ran out of time. Y'all got any questions that don't have anything to do with necessarily how to? Sometimes they're just funny things that happen that I find humorous. Devils, how many litters to process before you started to breed? Oh, how many did we raise before we started breeding? I don't know. We'd gone through. You weren't really around by.
I wasn't around then. You had already. You had the manga breeders when I got here.
I done 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 different groups of pigs. A total of probably 50. And the only reason I did is I could not find breeder pigs, and that's when I jumped into the mangas, and I should not have. Even the good mangas, I shouldn't have.
They had good meat though.
Yeah,
I will say that the meat was really good.
Yeah. Are you gonna pay $17 a pound for the meat?
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying.
$17 a pound for the fat. It's hard to swallow. $17 a pound for the meat. It's really
worth
hard
the
to
headache,
swallow.
but the meat was good.
Pounds for the fat, yeah.
That's all I was worried about.
So, oh yeah, we are still on. Okay, but that's when I started breeding, and my best recommendation is just get used to understanding how, especially if you're going to be pasture raising pigs. It's a lot better to get used to understanding how to judge how much grain they need, how much feed they need, and that kind of thing, so you can understand body condition if you're rationing their feed. Now, if you free choice feed your feeders, that's not a big deal, and there's nothing wrong with that. They'll still forage a world of a lot of forage, even if you're free choice feeding them. If y'all will pardon me for a moment, I need to step to the restroom. I'm going to let Bubba entertain you for a moment while I run to the facilities. Yes, sir. I better take this microphone off too.
Yeah, we don't want to hear that.
That could get disastrous if we're not careful.
One of the questions I found kind of interesting on here, somebody was asking was, says buckwheat has a smoky flavor. Does your pork taste smoky without smoking it? I have not noticed that. Now, we don't feed strictly anything. You know, we have the mix of cover crops, so I don't know if we did strictly that, it might do it, but for what I've seen, no. what other animals y'all running, or do you only have pigs? Joshua, we have pigs and cows, and that's all we run out here is pigs and cows. Let's see, Cindy. Okay, Cindy, you say you want info on the processing laws. Rob will be back in a minute to get you with that. We take ours to, I believe it's called Atala Frozen Foods down in Kosciuszko. They do our processing. They do an extremely good job. They are a USDA processor. They also do custom cuts, but they have a USDA person that comes in there and does the inspection and all that. They do an extremely good job. That's who does our retail cuts, and they do a good job. I've had quite a few that we've had brought through there, and really like them. But as far as the laws, Rob can get with you on that, and he'll have to talk more about that. Do you use electric fences for chickens on your piglets for training? No, do we use electric fences for chickens for our pigs as far as training? No, we have a panel set up behind our electric fence. Like we have a little wire running, then we have a panel behind it to keep them coming back. So it's the wire that we're actually going to use. That way they get used to seeing the wire and know, hey, that wire is what bites me and what makes me get back. So we use that to keep them back, and we have a area that we open up towards the end when they start getting used to it. We have a gate we can open up, and they can see the wire, and they learn then, hey, the wire's there, I can't go out. There's that back. Cindy was asking about the laws in Mississippi about.
You didn't. Did you take it out of there?
No.
Oh, I thought I put it in there.
No, you didn't. So I was
okay.
telling her that we use the Tala.
We're still on. What other animals are y'all running?
I talked about that. Just chickens and cows, or not chickens, but cows.
No,
and
not
pigs.
chickens. Yeah. I need info on the processing laws, state and USDA fun stuff. Short or long story, Cindy, in Mississippi, anything that's processed is going to go. We have state inspected laws, but they're basically same as the USDA. There's a PA exemption. Ooh. The short of a long story, if you go to a processing facility, Atala Frozen Foods in Kosciuszko, Pigcock Processing, and I think that's Pope, Mississippi, or any of those, it's got to be done while the inspector's on site. You just call them and tell them you need a USDA inspected processor day or appointment, and then they'll schedule on one of those days. You'll have to have labels approved by the inspector. As long as you don't make any claims on the labels, like just have your farm name or something, you should be fine. I know for me, I can put my farm name, but I wanted to put the genuine Mississippi logo on there. But that had to go through DC to be processed, and it would have taken forever. But if you sell a whole animal or a half animal, for example, to a family or friend member, they can operate under what's called custom exempt. And custom exempt just means you sell them the live animal before it's processed, and they take all that risk, liability, whatever. It'd be no different than someone buying an animal at a sale, auction or whatnot, and having it processed there. That's the short of it. Anyway, do you use electric fence for chicken on your piglets for training along with wire? No. I thought y'all did it in-house. Okay, so I do process some pigs on the farm myself, but that's only for my family's needs. We don't process it for others. The Bubba's processed meat for when he's bought a pig or 2 or 3 over the years. let's see, you know, but and if you process the meat yourself, you can use it for your family. If you have guests over, you can even take it to church, from what I understand. But you can't sell the meat, and you can't get by with, hey, I'm going to give you this meat if you'll give me a donation. That's not kind of appropriate either if you're processing your own meat. Anyway, when they're with the mama running around, I meant. Do you use electric fence for chicken on your piglets?
Or I talk about using the chicken electric wire.
I'm not sure what you mean, Devils. I'm sorry.
I know, buddy of mine, they have some chickens and they use that net wire. I don't know if that's what they're talking about.
Maybe, yeah.
We do not use it though.
No,
anywhere.
That net wire, people get excited about it, but it is just an absolute pain in the backside. I just soon take a whooping as mess with that stuff. I've done it over the years, and the problem with it is it's low to the ground, and it works fine for poultry, but for pigs, you know, they're going to root up a lot. They're going to make a royal mess. You got to weed eat or mow real close to the ground. It just takes forever to set up, whereas, you know, the polywire, polybraid kind of deal, is that done?
Yes.
Whereas the polywire, polybraid deal is a lot quicker and easier to set up. You don't have an electric wire on the ground or 2 inches off the ground necessarily if you have taller pigs. Some people train their pigs in it, but it's just a lot easier to have a dedicated pen for training pigs to electric fence, or just make one temporarily out of some cattle panels, train them to the fence, and then move on down the road. High tensile electric is by far my favorite and the easiest. It's the least expensive and the least labor, but it does have some cost up front.
And labor.
It's really not that much more labor, though. I mean, digging the posts, the end post for it.
Oh, no, corner post ain't bad.
If you're doing it by hand, unless you're doing it by hand, everybody may not have a tractor. I mean, that's the worst part of it. And you can dig one by yourself, you know, most times of the year, in an hour if you're real committed.
I can, but
yeah, can and want to. It'd probably be better for both of us.
Well, it probably would be, but
it'd burn some of those excess carbs we've been eating.
Yeah.
My second to that would be a good, high quality poly braid. That works beautifully. The poly braid is the best, I think. I've just got one roll of it. You know, and I only like to do short runs of that. If you've seen the videos of us strip grazing, you know, we got these long, skinny paddocks. They're 100, now they're more than 100 yards long.
More than 100 yards, probably.
Some of them are about 150 yards long, but some of them are 300 yards long, depending on if you're on the west end. But anyway,
go back in the woods.
But they're only about 80 feet wide, and so you can go through there, run over it with a lawnmower real quick. You know, when you move the pigs in, run under the perimeter of the fence, then make you some cross cuts, 6, 8, 10, how many every time you plan on moving them, and then each day or every 2 or 3 days, whatever, drive a little temporary post with poly wire in between it. It takes 5 or 10 minutes to move them. They get fresh forage. They benefit like they would from a daily move, and it's so much easier. But if you have to set up, you know, these 100-some-odd foot long rows of poly wire, poly braid, that gets to be incredibly boring as well. You know, but it just depends on what you're going for, I guess. Could you speak a bit about how you market your products? That is a great thing, Pookie Bear, Droopy Bear. I think we may do a little bit of that right now.
Some anyway. It's that time of the video where we eat pork.
Yeah, I'm not, honestly, I'm less interested right now in marketing and more interested in getting some food because I hadn't eaten all day. Ironically, if you do some YouTube stuff, you know, you can get, if you're monetized and you're committed to it, you can get paid to market. Most of my videos, though, are targeting folks like y'all that are more interested in the how-tos, not, you know, and y'all aren't going to buy my pork when you're trying to do your own pork. I use Barn to Door as the website host. There are a couple others you can use. The ones I've used before I didn't care for. The best thing you can do is just talk to people locally, and save on production costs, but increase the quality of the product that you're producing, which may not be, you know, necessarily doing something cheaper. But anyway, that's my suggestion. I'm not the best marketer, but talk to folks, you know, get people to come to the farm for free labor and sell them a pig, even at a reduced cost.
Yeah.
You know,
word of mouth is very good too. It seems to be one of the best ways. And
one of the worst things you can do is start off, I think, on a too large of a scale. That's hot.
That's the clean one.
To start off too large of a scale, not because you can't produce, but just because it's a little more difficult to sell. You know, cook for people, invite people over, your friends, family. Hopefully they'll support what you're doing as well. Oh my gosh, look at that.
And a lot of times I saw one, this is one of the questions on the YouTube thing was, what's the difference in the pork taste? And that's part of it. We're talking about is you got to get people to try it. And the difference in the quality is just ridiculous to me. As far as anything that's raised on farm, my family and I, we bought a cow this year, and we've been eating that meat for, I guess, since September or so, I think. And this past weekend, I made the mistake of going and buying some grocery store beef because I was feeding a large group, and the quality of the meat was just nowhere near. I done got spoiled on that meat, so that was just horrible to do.
But yeah, get the word out. Church can be a good place. Best thing to do is start an email newsletter and stay consistent with it. I am not consistent with mine, but that's my 2 cents. Let's see. Oh my gosh, we've gotten a bunch of other comments, and I'm over here eating. I need a towel. Give me just a. Oh, are you going to get one?
I'm gonna get one.
Okay. Oh, so that's the marketing. Anyway. Local groups, CrossFit gym memberships can be a good place. You're really going to have to find people that value the quality of the product, and it's much about learning how to sell more so than anything else, I think. I'm not a good natural salesperson, but that's where you'll get a really good product back. You know, that's where you'll get a really good response. You want to find people that are going to value a much more quality product. You know, find a way to meet their needs, what they're looking for, and then talk to them about it. You can try offering some free samples. It's costly to do, but, you know, I personally have not found social media to be that helpful. Most social media sites want you to pay to advertise. Anytime you get content where you're trying to get something from your audience, with the exception of YouTube, Facebook wants you to pay for ads or they throttle it. They know what they're doing. YouTube's philosophy is when you succeed, we succeed. But you got to be able to take the time and the energy to create really good content, which I'm much better at with shorts than I am long form videos. That's talk to everybody you know and find people who are looking for what you're looking for is my best advice. This is the second year raising feeder pigs and are going to farrow for the first time soon. What is your best advice to a newbie? We are doing a Berkshire American Guinea Hog cross. I hope the Berkshire is the sow and not the boar. If the boar is the Berkshire, American Guinea Hog's a smaller frame animal. Just know you may have some farrowing issues. I've never dealt with that cross. Those are my initial thoughts. My best advice for you, though, is when it's time to farrow, stay away from them. Don't go in there and start. It just seems to me that too many people like to stick their hands up animals' nether regions and pull piglets or horses or cows or whatever. And most of the time, that's not. My guess is you're going to create, you know less about what you're doing than I do. And my dad's a veterinarian, and the thing he's always said is animals know what they need to do. And unless there's a problem, say if you overfeed the pig before they farrow, piglets can be too bad, they can't get through the birth canal. Well, you're not going to be able to pull them through the birth canal anyway. It's going to take a cesarean or something along those lines. There are times where I've heard of people having pigs that get stuck. I've never had a pig get stuck where I've had to pull it. I've only farrowed, I don't know, 700 or 800, 900 pigs over the years. So that's 40, 50, 60 litters. Anyway, whatever it is. So I don't have as much experience as most people, but best thing you can do is keep them warm, keep them dry, and just stay out of her way while she farrows. You'll be so, I think, nervous or anxious or excited that you'll probably do stuff that doesn't need to be done, unless it's a really beloved companion animal, comparable to a pet dog or something. You're going to increase the animal's anxiety just because it's an anxious time of the year. When my wife was giving birth, my presence was comforting at times, but it was also quite not comforting. And I have a much closer relationship with my wife, and did then than any of the animals that I have. My point, they don't need a whole lot of people meddling around. That goes against 90% of what people are going to tell you, but that's my 2 cents. Do you move all your breeder piglets to the pen? At some point, yes, unless we just go on and sell them. Usually we wean them. At that time, if we haven't already, go on and castrate them, worm them, put them in the training pen, and then either from there they're sold, or if we're raising them ourselves, we move them on to pasture. Do y'all mob grazing? I graze. We do mob graze pigs some, but not like a lot of people do. I don't do it with the cattle because most of the cattle are not mine, and I've got better things to do with my time.
We ain't doing that again.
I'm more focused on pigs than I am cattle. Anyway, but yeah, we do mob graze, but it's a modified thing. Pigs, I do a mob grazing of sorts, but it's what I call strip grazing. Do you do seminars or offer on-farm tours? Yeah, love for you to come by sometime. We don't do anything formally. At some point, we probably should, but we haven't. But reach out to me through the website or email me at rob@dowdlefamilyfarms.com. And if you're in the area, we'll happy to try to set you up. Gonna run my 5 pigs in 12 feet ride runs between my tree runs, 1,200 feet long. You get what they're asking?
Wanting to run
They've
fences
got
between
trees.
They got trees running 12
Yeah.
foot wide, 12 foot apart, kind of like a pine thicket or something, or pine tree farm
Yeah.
or something probably.
Yeah. You want to respond to that first, and I'll respond as I see fit.
Well,
I'm just interested in what your initial thoughts are.
it's 12 foot wide by how long?
1,200.
1,200. So you got a lot of distance, but it's going to depend on if you got. I mean, if you're trying to run on forage, then it's going to depend on what you're planting there and how much light you can get there. I would think would be my thought initially. I could be wrong about that, but I would think it would depend on how much light you're getting in there and what you can grow there, as to how beneficial it would be.
I think they're wondering about the practical applications of a 12-foot wide fence by how many ever feet long, is my guess.
Well,
If they're fairly trained to your system, if they're not trained to the hot wire already, they're going to be kind of skittish. They're going to want to stay away from it. Yes, they'll root against the edge of it, but just remember, if it's 12 feet wide, they may only have 8 or 10 feet that they're actually going to be grazing. It's not a problem at all. It's just one of those factors
be kind of tight
to consider. But and you can give them 20 feet at a time. It's 5 feeder pigs, I think. So you can get them a 12 by 12 space. I would just train them. The first thing I would do, and I don't have any experience with quite this narrow of a thing, but I would train them in a 12 foot wide by 12 foot wide fence that's not in an orchard, just so that they get used to it. With 5 pigs, it won't be a problem, I don't think. If you had 30 or 40 pigs, it'd be a little bit more of a challenge, because as they fight, they'll crowd around together and they all rush together, and you can't get 30 pigs in
a small
10 foot wide area when they're all trying to clamber up to get to the fence for feed when you come up to feed them. But yeah, it's doable. I'd try it. It may very well turn into a debacle, but I try a lot of stupid stuff. Cindy says, I'll come and help. Come anytime. Church newsletter and Facebook pages, do they help? Facebook pages, I don't do church newsletters. Facebook pages, I don't, but again, I'm not a big fan of Facebook. Don't understand how to do it. Somebody that really knows what they're doing, perhaps. I just don't like Facebook and don't understand it. Do you feed your pigs feed as well, or just pasture? Yes, they do get feed. There are times they won't get any grain for a few days, but it depends on if they're feeder pigs. They're always going to get a little bit of grain. If they have excellent nutrition, and we have a day like today where we were at church this morning and then it was raining this afternoon and now it's sun shining, but by the time we shut up it may be midnight, I don't know. But in a situation like if it's a rainy day or something, I've got feeder pigs, and if they've got feed and water, I may not offer them the grain that day, and I may give them more the next day. But that's only if they have really, really excellent feed. If they're just out there on a grass fescue pasture, they're going to starve to death, and they're going to really suffer body condition.
That's just like we just moved Ferdinand and them to that.
Yeah, and that's not a particularly good paddock. When they were in that paddock that they were in the first time, the first few days I didn't feed them any grain. But this is breeder pigs, not feeder pigs. Very different nutritional needs than feeder pigs. But they were already bred, or the 3 that got bred were. The one that didn't is off on its way to Indiana now. and they were settling in. They didn't need a whole lot of nutrition anyway, and so I didn't feed them for 4 or 5 days. But there was a lot of really good forage in there. They're good foragers. I think one in those 5 days I fed them. They were 6 pigs, and I fed them the equivalent of about 20 pounds of feed to 3 pounds of grain, but not, that's half a daily ration that I gave them in those first 4 or 5 days. But as the forage production, or the quality of forage was reduced, I fed them more. Yes, Burke, female, guinea hog, boar. Okay, so Tim, I'm assuming we missed some comments. I think that'll be a fine thing as long as they're not overfed. As long as the sow's not overfed and overly fat, you should be okay. Farrowing with those. Rob, don't sell yourself short. Bubba's the one that's short over here. You seem like a good salesman to me. I appreciate it. If I was a really good salesman, I'd say something about try this smoked sausage. Do you have a separate paddock for farrowing? No, I don't. I do it all in the same. I may separate them as I'm moving them. Right now I've got 2 sows that farrowed. They were in the same paddock. When the other one was about to go, it was when they were starting to get loose early last week or week before, I don't remember now. And I kept her in the paddock next door just to keep a little bit of distance, not between her and the other sows or the pigs, but between her babies and those babies. Hazelnut trees, very small, so lots of light. Yes, that's the hazelnuts are. They're what I would call bushes. They're taller than you are, but
that ain't saying
they're
much.
still not more than 4, 5, 6, 8 feet tall, I don't think. They are trained. Thank you for the answers. I'll see how it goes. Yeah, let me know how it goes. Did you really go where? Oh, Megan. Oh. Yeah, apparently I did. Sorry, baby. Delves and details. Channels you use for marketing is depending on what works or an area or how big your business is. More important, it is to explain to the customer how the products can be used. Yes, and on top of that, I would add, Jonah, that it depends on your particular skills. I started the YouTube stuff not realizing the marketing advantages, and I'm just now starting to get some of those there. So I'm right there with you. Sun Dusty Farms, I keep their auto feeder stocked so they have 24 access to feed and rotate them on pasture. Oh yes, on the hedge nut, whatever the nut bushes are.
Oh yeah,
short nut bushes. Anyway, wow, we caught up with all the comments now.
All right.
Any other comments or questions y'all have? We are, I think it's worth taking a look at a couple of those YouTube comments.
Well, let's see what we got.
What do you think? You look for them and start answering. I'm going to eat. You've gotten to eat more than I have.
Let's see what we got here.
Oh, 2 questions. One of them I forgot to answer earlier. How many pounds of feed for sow leading up to farrowing? When they're breeding, I give mine access to free choice feed. Usually they're just coming off of being in milk and their body condition is a little low anyway. And when several studies have indicated that as food resources are higher during breeding, that the conception rates are higher. So that's why I do that. once they're all bred, I'll limit to about 5, maybe 6 pounds of feed per day per sow. Many producers say 3 to 4 pounds. I like my sows to have larger frames but not fat, and there's a very big distinction there. They're rotated through piney woods. I'm guessing that not the best of forage, but some. So 4 to 5 pounds a day, 3 pounds. If they look overly fat, I would reduce that to 2 to 3 pounds a day and just see how they go. Is it okay to 24-hour feed with pasture grazing? Yes, assuming that you've got a meat pig, not a lard breed. That's my 2 cents. You know, the only reason I limit feed on pasture for feeder pigs, particularly, is when they're growing. I mean, sometimes I want to push more forage, but if you don't have quality forage, you're not going to get them to eat any more forage, or not going to get them to perform much more on forage. And in my experience, even the worst foragers still, with free choice feed, they will still graze a lot of pasture. So that's my 2 cents. There was something about flies. Do you guys spray for flies? No, but we do get horse flies on the pigs in the summer, and I'll run out there, and when I can, I'll pop the horse flies to give the pigs some relief. But I don't have problems with flies on pigs. Got problem with flies on cows sometimes. Have you ever seen someone using the Korean natural farming living no smell floor system in pigs or chickens? I don't know. I don't know what the Korean natural farming living no smell floor system in pigs or chickens is. Do you know what that is?
I have no idea.
Do you want to Google it?
We can.
Just Google. I don't know. Maybe they'll. My guess is it's just a deep mulch bedding, and if that's the case, that's what's in most of our training pens for pigs. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Any other questions or comments? Kind of curious who all we've got on here. Did you find it?
Nope. Dang it.
Wooden floor without nails or screws. I don't know.
Hold it, watch out. Not that.
Bedding. Korean natural farming, not flooring.
Oh, I thought you said flooring.
Living no smell floor system. Anyway. Is there any negative to grazing sheep, chicken, quail, rabbits ahead of the pigs? None other than they will take the predominant forage from the pigs. If you're going to, depends on what your goals are. If your goals are to reduce grain costs, then sheep, goats, a lot of those are going to eat the more nutritious forages, and the pigs won't get them. Pigs will still benefit from grasses, still get a lot of benefit there, but that works. But if reducing grain consumption, you want your more nutritious forages fed and then put the other livestock in. A lot of people have pigs follow cows, which I find ridiculous. On a personal note, I'll have cows following pigs, because cows can graze the grasses that the pigs don't eat and aren't as nutritious. But, whatever. That's just me. Maybe I'm an idiot. Sophia says she's not a bacon bit. That was a random one. Do you neuter male pigs? I heard it's a common practice because male pigs can have an altered taste if it's not done. I do. And for several reasons. First and foremost, with electric fencing, there's a lot more flexibility with grazing management. Pigs, despite what people say, will have much happier lives. People tend to think we just get out there and shock pigs with electric fence, and they do it to themselves. That said, I've probably been shocked more than just about any pig on the farm has. And, you know, people get real excited about electrocution and emotional and so forth. But back to it, we do neuter them because we've got to keep, for several reasons. One, there is the issue of boar taint. I think in the UK or in Europe, they do some chemical castration, whatever that is. I know Walter Jeffries at Sugar Mountain Farms in Vermont does not and has not had any issues with boar taint in his pigs. And what that is it's a very small percentage of boars have it, from what I understand, and a smaller percentage of people can sense the presence of boar taint. But if they do, it is nasty and filthy. And anyway, as a commercial producer, I've got to ensure that the product is quality. And it's fine if 1% of my customers don't like it, but if 10% of the customers or 20% of the customers that try it can taste boar taint, then it ruins the reputation. But aside from all that, it's even a bigger problem, because what happens is you've got to be able to manage, and this is where the fencing plays a role, is because you've got to be able to manage having, if you're a farrower to finisher operation, you've got to be able to manage having boars and gilts side by side in a pen. And it doesn't matter whether they're siblings, it doesn't matter whether whatever, but I've had boars will jump through fences to get to sows or gilts, but gilts tend to be the one to jump through fences to get to the boars or the sows, or to get to the boars in my experience. And we already with five boars?
Yeah, we got 5
four,
right now.
So four different genetic lines of boars. I've got to keep them separated by a lot of space and excellent fencing. And a high tensile electric fence is not going to stop a determined boar or gilt from breeding. So you've got these pigs that are 150, 200 pounds that are cycling, and they want to breed. You know, and you can do whatever you want to discourage them, but there's a trade-off. So yes, we do castrate the male piglets, neuter them, whatever you want to call it. It is usually a very quick process. If done younger, it takes 30 seconds per pig. If done older, it can take 45 seconds to a minute or two. Bubba was castrating some, was it Friday?
Yeah, Friday.
And he's not the most experienced. It did fine, but it took probably a minute.
It took a little longer.
A minute and a half.
They were a little bigger. And
a minute and a half for him to do it. The ones I did, I probably did in 30 or 40 seconds, maybe.
Something like that, yeah.
You'll see a lot of videos online talking about castrating and neutering, and there's and you'll see the pigs squealing, and most of the time the pigs are squealing because they're being picked up. You get an animal that's made to be on the ground and they're picked up and they squeal. That's just what pigs do. And most of the time they're squealing from being handled. Somebody was out there with us. Who was it that was out there with us? Some neighbors were out there, and an 8-year-old boy and his mother. They were going to help us catch the piglets, and we had already caught them by the time they got out there. But we were castrating, and she just remarked, "My gosh, you set them down, and they just get up and walk off like there's nothing to it."
Yeah.
And in many ways, I mean, that's true. Now, when they're older, again, they'll be sore for a little bit longer. But but the younger it is, the less of an issue it is with pain, bleeding, and complications. It's an issue that's overly dramatized, and yes, I recognize that I'm not the one being neutered. So, but I would compare it more to something like circumcision early in life.
Something
for
similar.
Boys. That's often done. It's very quick, maybe painful for a bit. It's more than just circumcision, and I recognize that. But it's,
like you said, most of them they're fine. Once you put them down, they go on about their business and fine. This while we're on this subject, I'm gonna go to this question here. It says, just how far should the boar and sow be separated, and is it okay to keep the boars side by side?
If the boars are raised together, they can be kept together. We've got BJ and Jack together. They're brothers, so they're basically, I'm treating them like one boar in terms of the genetic diversity. But I've got two of them because I want to increase the number of breedings each time a sow cycles. So they can be kept, together like that. But boars are going to fight. Boys are going to fight. That's just what they're going to do. And they can kill each other. They may or may not. It just depends. It's much easier to manage if they're done younger in life. What would you recommend a cover crop mixes in Texas for fall and spring? Esco, I would, depending on what part of Texas you're in. If you're in eastern Texas, it's more like our environment, a little wetter. I'd probably recommend what we do for all of it. If you're in, warm season cover crop, I would include in there sun hemp, good legume, maybe a forage soybean or something like that, a sorghum Sudan grass or pearl millet that's very drought resistant. And then if you've got a little more moisture, you could try planting in the spring some chicory or something along those lines. I would add buckwheat, but just know that buckwheat requires water. If you're in the drier part, it's probably not going to perform real well. At least not during the heat of the summer. Love your channel. Thanks for sharing what you do with us. My girlfriend desperately wants a man pig, but I've heard, what? My girlfriend desperately wants a mini pig. Oh, wow. Sorry. I read that one wrong. But I've heard even the smallest pigs will weigh up to 150 pounds. There are some smaller pigs. The larger the pig, not only the bigger the footprint, but the more they eat, and the more they eat, the more they poop. But most mini pigs, in my observation, are kept mini pigs for dietary reasons, and most people do not limit their diet and nutrition like they should. What does pig milk taste like? I guess you've seen that video. It is very rich, but it is no lactose in it, so it doesn't taste bitter. It just tastes nasty, like a.
I have not tried it. Not going to.
You've never tried it?
No.
Oh man.
We don't rent pigs either.
Anyway, do you have a hard time keeping the pigs in the fence? No. As long as I keep everything going like I should, I do not. But sometimes I'll have boneheaded moves where I will keep the fence off and not pay attention to what I'm doing. Thank you for answering. The only reason why I ask is I want a homestead someday with pigs on it and was curious to the process. Retro fry. Let me make sure I've got that. Oh, I think that's the castration comment. Nope. Oh, goodness.
Oh, boy.
I lost the comment. I don't know. I'm not real good at seeing all these things. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, do you neuter male piglets? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where that one came from. Esco, thank you. That's the Texas thing. How often do you water cover crop? I generally do not unless we have severe drought. And usually I only do it to get them germinated. If it is in the summer, that's why I like the sorghum Sudan grass. Sun hemp works well. Pigs don't graze it as well, and it's illegal to grow in, or it's illegal to import in Mississippi. We consider it a noxious weed for some reason. So that's why I don't do it. But sun hemp, sorghum Sudan grass, chicory, some of those are really good, more drought resistant crops, and don't need much moisture at all. Usually, if I'm irrigating, it's because of the buckwheat or something along those lines, and that can be done once every week or two, depending on its stage and growth. Usually, I'm only irrigating to plant fall crops in dry weather. Do you have to weed whack under all the fences? Well, the short answer is I'm not going to run a weed eater under all my fences. Don't have the time for it. And there's, gosh, just on that 10 acres, I bet I've got 2 miles of fencing that I'd have to weed eat under. And I've got a Stihl FS 220. I mean, at the time, it was the most powerful weed eater they had. I usually use my zero-turn lawnmower to run underneath them. It's got a wide enough deck that I can get under there and mow fairly easily. This spring, it has been too wet to do that, and for the first time since I've been growing cover crops for pigs, I actually used herbicide, a glyphosate treatment, to burn down the grass under my fence. There was no way for me to get to mowing it. I tried mowing in a couple spots and got stuck. In the drier spots, I got stuck 7 times in 30 minutes and was making a mess. So I did a little narrow strip right under the fence. It has since desiccated, and the voltage that was 900 volts has popped up to about 4,000 volts just because of that. And I didn't really have any options. Again, not my favorite thing to do. But
his free help wasn't going to run the weed eater that long.
No, I mean it's just not practical. It would have taken 12 hours or so, even with that weed eater that I have.
One of my favorite questions on here is about the pigs. It says, "Are you training them, or are they training you?"
Am I training pigs? They're probably training me.
A little bit of both, I think.
Yeah, no kidding. What's your favorite fence charger? Depends on the need. If I'm using a less than 30 joule output fence charger, I like the tailor-made. I think they call them Cyclops or Boss tailor-made. They're made in Alabama. Really good fence charger, really good price. They don't have a lot of the details, but the nicer things like Wi-Fi connectivity, and like our pigs need Wi-Fi access, or remote turnoff. Those are nice features, I would imagine. But that tailor-made fence charger carries a lot of punch. Most people underpower their electric fences, and they certainly don't plan for growth. If you have any kind of short, the higher joule output that you have, it'll help push through and burn some of those weeds or other things. We probably need closer to a 60 joule output charger, and I'd have to jump to one that's about $3,000 or $4,000 there. Elizabeth Rogers, everybody from hello everyone, Alabama here. I thought about getting pigs, but I'm around houses and I think people would get upset that they will smell. People may be afraid that they'll smell, but if managed right, they should not smell. Hey Rob, it's Luke on the Farm Channel. C&W Farms, Mississippi.
Oh.
That's Luke.
Hey, Luke.
Gwen says, Elizabeth, hi, Bama. And they're waiting. Cindy says, Rob, I think you may need readers. What is that?
Reading glasses, because you keep leaning in to look at it.
Well, it's a real small, like, let me see.
You're getting old.
I don't know if no, it's not that. It's like, let me see if I can show what this screen looks like. Uh-oh, I'm about to pull the camera down. But right here on the little bitty screen, there's a little bitty section right in here that shows the comments and the small font. And I'm trying to match the audio and everything else, and it's not the easiest thing to do. But yes, just getting off word, glad I caught the live. Would pigs eat greenbrier, smilax? I need to clear a couple acres and was thinking about pigs or goats instead of bush hog. Yes. So a couple things I would consider doing there. Some pigs will eat the green stuff, like our first Burks did. They ate the green stuff off the briars. Yeah. But then, what was I saying?
Talk about the eating the greens.
Oh,
you
yes.
kind of trained them to that.
No, they just came in doing it.
Okay.
I
knew you put some
others
of
did not.
The feed around it.
But they didn't eat the actual nut of that briar. You know, it's got a bulb that can be that big or, huge. I've seen some several feet wide, or a network of them. I don't know if it was one, but they were normally in flower beds that kept getting cut. So pigs can do that. One of the things that I would encourage you to do, if you do that, is if you can get some whole grains to ferment during the warmer weather. I'm assuming you're in North America just for comparison purposes, but if you're in the southern hemisphere, adapt it for them. But if you ferment whole grains, they're much more attractive to the pigs and more nutritious. It's normally not worth it, for large groups of pigs. But the whole grains, you can throw them around the roots and the bases of those plants, and they will root them up even more aggressively. Goats should work if you have them in there long enough that they'll eat the regrowth and they'll eventually drain the energy reserves in the bulb, but that would take a while, I would think. Is there a small breed of pigs where if they got out, it wouldn't be a huge deal? Any you recommend? If you get any pigs out and they are not well trained, it is always going to be a big deal. I'm sorry to say that, but if it's a 60-pound pig that's running from you, it's going to run fast enough that you can't catch it. Mm-hmm. If you do catch it, it's going to take some work to move a 60. I mean, you can move a 60-pound pig, but it's not like a 60-pound sack of feed. It's like carrying a 120-pound sack of feed, because they're squirming so bad. And if you have to go very far with it, it's just going to be tough. You're not going to be able to drag it. You're just going to have to be able to pick it up. The most important thing is just train the pigs by far to have pigs. Bubba was tell them about I don't guess they were on earlier, but when the scrawny sow you put up yesterday walking down, that part of the road was, I don't know, you tell the story and I'll figure out how
we had
the road was.
One of the sows we had out, we had to get her back in, get her into wanted to move her from one area to another section, and she's trained enough that I had the bucket of feed and she just followed me with a bucket of feed. Now, if we was not trained to this, it would have been extremely hard, because she's a few hundred pounds, but anyway, she was able to follow me straight over there to the fence. I opened the spring gates that we use now, and she came right through it, and no problem. The second pig that was out did not see me take the fence down, and it was very much of a struggle to get her in. I couldn't get her in. As a matter of fact, Rob was able to go back a little bit later and get her to come on in, but as far as her being the one being trained, like I said, she just had a bucket of feed, and she just followed right behind me, just like what was that one with the guy that played the flute and the rats all followed?
Pied Piper?
The Pied Piper, yeah, just like that. And she just followed me just right on like she should. And that's by far the easiest way. We've had some pigs get out that were not trained and tried to catch them, and that was way too much work.
So all that to say, small breed of pigs, they're not going to be any easier to catch. The main thing is just getting them well trained. There's some American guinea hogs. They're more stubborn than any pig I've raised, other than those Mangalitzes. Though they were 200 pounds rather than 300 or 400 pounds.
Yeah.
Or 250 pounds. You never saw them, did you? That was 6-7 years ago.
No, I did not see the.
Long before the mangas.
You had the mangas and you had a bunch of feeders when I first started. Coming.
But that's, just smaller pigs. People talk about the coonies and Idaho pasture pigs and all, but frankly, if they're not trained, it's not going to be a whole lot easier to catch them than it is an adult pig. It's if you resort to force to catch a pig, that's where you've got problems. And the only way you'll be able to catch it is with a shot to the head. It's unfortunate, but that's why that's so good. The letters, yes, Rob, the letters are teeny weeny. Thank you, Gwen. I appreciate that. My Burks will, but Pineywood cows tear it up.
I guess it's talking about the.
The briars. Yes. South Carolina Greenbrier question. Thanks. How is Riley? CNW Farm, this Luke. Riley's doing well. How is Izzy? Those are dogs we got. Ours is put up because she's annoying and tears up everything. Also, would you ferment the feed yourself by wetting it, or do you buy it like that? So, short or long story, you get a 5-gallon bucket or any kind of bucket, put the seed in it. I say seed, grain,
corn,
whole corn, grain, whatever it is, wheat, oats, barley, corn, and you cover it completely in water and let it start to ferment. At 70 degrees, you're looking at a 3-day ferment or so. A little faster, or maybe 4 or 5 days, but you'll start to smell a pretty sweet smell. If it smells nasty, something else got in there, like a wild animal and drowned. Not that I have any personal experience with that. Cindy laughs and then says, "Okay, Rob, I'm sorry. I don't know what did I say something bad?"
No, I think it's about you need readers.
Oh, yeah. I'm a little delayed here. Do you have insurance if animals off farm cause damage? Yes. There are farm policies. Understand, I'm going on what my state laws and insurance regulations and all that here in Mississippi are, and what my insurance agent tells me. And he tries to sell me as much insurance as he can. But farm policies are fairly cheap. I think my farm liability policy is $100 a year, maybe a little more, a little less. I don't remember what the limits of coverage are, but they're fairly high. I say fairly high. I mean, they're higher than as high as my automobile policies are, liability-wise. Storm blows, a gate open, and cow gets out and a car hits it. I'm covered there. Somebody runs into the tractor on the road. Well, in Mississippi, that is supposed to be legally their fault, but that's a whole other story. But yeah, it covers me on equipment, livestock, and all that. It doesn't cover retail sales, so I have a separate policy for that, but that's a whole other story too. But yes, short answer is yes, insurance, and it's worth purchasing. It's cheap, and not worth the risk. Yeah, so you train them to feed some from a bucket so they follow you back. Yes. So what we do, when you first get your pigs, better off if they're in a smaller pen, even if they're wire trained, electric fence trained. And the reason is you put the feed down and you give them just enough feed, and you feed them at least once a day, but it's best to feed them twice a day. Don't let the feed just sit in there all day, because if they do, they're not going to be hungry and come up to you. You want them to learn that when they hear your side-by-side, your four-wheeler, your bicycle, your truck, car, when they see you walking with a bucket, whatever your normal routine is for feeding, that they know and they hear. I do a call on mine that carries. Some people say, come on, pigs, come on, pigs. Well, come on, pigs does not carry over half a mile, whereas a call like, sweet, that was probably loud, I'm sorry. Neighbor's dogs are barking. That carries some distance. Now remember, pigs are wildly deaf sometimes. They can be asleep. You can walk right up to them, pat them on the butt, and you think they're dead. And then all of a sudden they wake up, snort, alive, and then go running off like the devil's chasing them with a scrambled eggs and ready for breakfast. And they're just startled. And you can be calling them the whole time. But you want a sound that carries with a distance, my thought. Our pigs typically come with tractor or side-by-side, four-wheeler, truck, vehicle. They're used to it all.
The breeders do very well with the call, though. If you holler for them, they come running.
Yeah.
They can be
way
out there.
And feeders, once you get, feeders do the same thing.
Yeah.
Once they get 2-3 weeks a month into it, they learn and they go fast. Where we tend to have the most problems is when I'm feeding new adult pigs on the farm. Those are usually sows, and they take a little bit to get used to it, but it usually does not take long. That's how we train them. Izzy's good. She's been great at herding. Good to hear. Good to hear. Super broad question with a lot of aerials, but roughly how many pigs would someone need to make a living off of them?
How do you want to live?
That's a good question, but on a broader scale, the funny thing, there's a running question that we ask people when they go into farming. My dad will ask them, do you know how to make a small fortune in the cattle business? And his response is promptly, start out with a large one.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that to say that when you'll find some people that'll pay $2,000 a pig for your pigs. You can sell them the organic grain, non-GMO, corn-free, soy-free, whatever. There may not be a whole lot of profit in that, but let's say you make $200 per pig off of them. If you want to make a decent full-time living, I mean, you're gonna have to have a revenue roughly of close to $1 million. Let's say you got $100,000 that you want to bring in as a gross income. Keep in mind you'll be self-employed, so you have self-employment tax that you got to pay, insurance, retirement, all that stuff that normally would be covered by an employer.
Insurance.
Yeah, I mean it's $100,000 would be closer to of self-employment would be closer to a $60,000 a year salary or so, but that's your cost for the employer. So you're looking at a 10% premium, and a lot of people where most people make mistakes is they're just not increasing their margins high enough because they say, oh, I'm going to be doing this anyway, so it's just my time. I don't have to pay myself for my time. But, and what happens is if you don't pay yourself for your time, you're never going to be able to expand because you only have so much time in a day. Your family's going to suffer, your life's going to suffer, your quality of health is going to suffer, and then you're not going to be able to find somebody to feed your livestock for free. Now, just because you can make $100,000 an hour, that'd be nice. Just because you can make $100 an hour,
you say. Pay me then.
Yeah, just because you can make $100 an hour, and I'm using that just for easy math. Doing some other occupation. Maybe you're a plumber and you're charging $50, $60 an hour or $100 an hour or whatever it is. It doesn't mean that that's what you're going to be able to charge for your time. But because some of that time is not worth $100 an hour. It doesn't take $100 an hour for somebody to go get a bucket of feed, empty the grain bin, and feed it to some pigs. But that, and then you can start paying employees to do the easier, cheaper work. My point, though, going back to your question, how many pigs, at some point you're going to have a scale whereby you're not overdoing customers, you're going to have to limit your costs. Most people don't know how to limit their costs. That's why, frankly, high tensile electric fencing, it saves time and money. It does have a little more infrastructure cost up front, but it's a huge time saver. Short or long story, let's say you sell your pigs live weight for $1,000 a piece. Mine are usually closer to $750 or $800, $600, depending on their hanging weights, how big they are. But let's say you actually sell them for $1,000, and then they pay processing costs too. You're going to have a feed cost on those pigs. If you just feed conventional feed, you're going to have a feed cost on those pigs of roughly $200, and that's if you're lucky. The feed may only cost you $3.75 a ton, but you're going to have to get it on your farm. Then you're going to have to put it out, store it, and all that kind of stuff. Deal with losses. My point is your cost may be, but if you go buy a 2,500 or 3/4 ton truck, diesel truck, to pull and a livestock trailer and spend $100,000 on a rig to haul 20 animals or 100 animals a year to the processor, well, you'd be much better off. Everybody thinks they need this big, new, shiny equipment, and I don't have new, shiny equipment on the farm by any stretch of the imagination. And, you're going to have to keep costs low, and if you have a $30,000 tractor, well, you've got to have enough sales to justify the cost of it, putting that into overhead. My point, if you sell $1,000 a pig and you have $400 profit, well, you got your calculator on you, Bubba. If you got a $200, if you have a $400 profit margin on each pig that you raise, to get $1 million in sales, how much is that?
Hold on, I gotta figure out what a calculator is on this thing.
Could you search for it?
I don't know.
That's it right there. It's right there on the screen. There it is. Oh. Anyway, so 1 million divided by, by 1,000. Yeah.
1 million divided by what?
1,000. That's simple enough. You'd have to raise 1,000 pigs to get $1,000 in sales, is my point. But if you had a $400 profit margin, that's, if you want a $400 profit margin on each pig, which is high, and it's higher than needs to be done. It's one thing to do it on a scale of 10 to 20 pigs a year. It's another thing to do it on 1,000 pigs a year. But on a $400 profit margin, you'd have to sell 1,000 pigs just to make.
You'd make $1 million, but at the same time, that's
to make a $40,000 income.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that math right?
Yes. I think so. Yes, because
yes,
1,000.
Yes. So that's my point. Is you'd have to make you got to have a lot of them, and of course that doesn't take into account various other things, but. 100,000 an hour, count me in, I'm getting pig. Oh yeah, me too, no kidding.
I wish we was making 100,000 an hour.
Luke says, yeah, you don't have shiny equipment, your truck can't even go in reverse.
You ain't wrong.
My truck can't go and drive and forward either right now, but that's a whole nother story. The reverse servo went out in my truck, and now I think I've got a shift solenoid in the transmission that's messed up.
Good job, Luke.
Luke's giving me a hard time. But anyway, all that to say, that's how you go about doing that kind of stuff. Any other questions, comments? I don't know about y'all, but this has been 2 hours.
Been a while.
It's been a while, I think. Anyway, questions, comments before we head off? Exterminator, they are little bulldozers. That's what Cindy said. Yes. I think we got everything answered. Who do you have in Tom Aspinall versus John Jones fight?
At UFC.
Who do you have in them?
I really don't know. I mean, John Jones is always good. I don't really watch it much anymore, though.
I was gonna say John Jones just because the name's easier to pronounce, but I don't know who either of them are.
I don't know the other guy. I know John Jones. That joker's. Whew. He used to be bad.
Sorry, Sushimano. I'm not the most. I'm
not up to date on UFC
I'm not
anymore.
the most up to date on those kind of things.
Now, you want to talk football? I can help you there. Saints are going to be horrible this year. But
yeah, no kidding. Do you process the pigs yourself? No, we did cover that in an earlier thing. How often do you weigh your pigs? I don't weigh the pigs. They get weighed when they're on the hanging weight. That's kind of how I go about it. I can look at them and kind of get a random idea, but I'm always shocked.
Yeah.
It's real hard to tell how much a small pig weighs. I mean,
well, that first group of Burks we sent off, they were way over what we thought they were.
Yeah, I mean,
they were a couple hundred pounds, wasn't it? Or 100 pounds at least over what we thought.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of to guess, but I've got a little scale, and I'll probably.
We tried that,
I may, if I can get it in the barn and I'll sort it out with some, keep it in better shape in the future. I may do some options with it, but it's kind of hard to do that. Thanks for your time and channel. It's helped us quite a bit. I'm glad it's helped. Let me know if there's anything we can do. Thanks, brothers. I appreciate you. We appreciate y'all. Thanks for stepping in and saying hello.
Listen to us ramble for a couple hours.
Yeah, no kidding. We gotta go feed pigs here in a minute. Are you gonna help feed pigs?
Oh no.
We can ride around on the side by side. Okay. Most of the work's done. I don't think it's gonna be a hard day today. But we're gonna go feed pigs. Y'all take care. Thanks again. And we appreciate what you do. Y'all stay out of too much trouble and.
Y'all have fun.
We're going to go see if we can get into just enough trouble to make life interesting over here.
That's right.
At Dowdle Family Farms. So, I was going to say something. I don't remember what it was. Can y'all hear the piano playing in the background? I'm just kind of curious. Anyway, it's time to get off. Y'all take care. Thanks for stopping in, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.